This is an example of what your knitting will look like if you've used a long tail cast on method and then knit in the stockinette stitch or stocking stitch if you're in the UK for about 10 rows. The long tail cast on method is a very nice stable edge. It also creates nice even stitches, which is nice. The only real drawback to the long tail cast on method is that you have to decide how much yarn you're going to need for your cast on at the very start of your cast on. That can be frustrating whether you end up with too much or too little yarn. When you start this cast on, you're going to make your slip knot, so you can set your knitting needle aside for right now. And now, before you make your slip knot, you'll have to determine how much yarn you need for your cast on. I like to use about 1 inch for every stitch, which is about 2.5 centimeters for every stitch. That will leave a lot of extra yarn at the end, but it will ensure that I don't have to redo my cast on later. So if you want to do less yarn per stitch, that's perfectly acceptable. I just don't like to have to redo my cast on. So for 1 inch for every stitch, or 2.5 centimeters for every stitch, I'm going to be around right here for 10 stitches, and that's where I'm going to create my slip knot. So wrap it around your finger twice, pull your back loop over the front one, and now pull your new back loop over and off of your finger. Pull it tight, and that's your slip knot. Now grab your knitting needle and put it right through that loop. Pull it tight. Now you're going to create somewhat of a triangle, I suppose. This will be the top of your triangle. And now take the tail and drape it over your finger for one side of the triangle, and take the working yarn and drape it over your other fingers for the other side of the triangle. Now, the last 3 fingers on your hand are going to grab both the working yarn and the tail to hold them tight and in place. Okay, now we can start doing our long tail cast on. What you're going to do first is go down with your knitting needle from the bottom to the top by your thumb. So a loop is going to be created by your thumb when you go down with your knitting needle. See that loop right there? You're going to put your knitting needle into there from the bottom to the top. So down from the bottom to the top, and now a loop is going to be created over here by your pointer finger, and you're going to go from the top to the bottom with your knitting needle. Top to the bottom, and now you're going to go back into the same loop by your thumb, but this time from the top to the bottom. Top to the bottom. Now you can let go with your thumb and use your thumb right here to pull tight. There you go. That's your second cast on stitch because your slip knot counted as your first cast on stitch. So let's try that again. Down from the bottom to the top, by your pointer finger from the top to the bottom, and back through the thumb from the top to the bottom. Let go with your thumb, pull tight with your thumb. There you go. Again, down from the bottom to the top, by your pointer finger from the top to the bottom, by your thumb again from the top to the bottom, and pull tight. So right now for me that's 1, 2, 3, 4 stitches. If I want to keep going to 10 stitches, I just keep casting on in the same way. So just keep casting on until you have all the stitches required for your pattern.